Oldasi aim Giskuk. Oldasi, everybody was Yanik. I go and Gishka, listen, on La Bill C-45, government, on Delegojik. Hello, my name is Jaime Battiste. I'm from the district of Unamagi. I'm glad to be here today with you. I always start off speaking my Mi'kmaq language because I grew up next to one of our Mi'kmaq role models, Grand Captain Alec Denny. And he always told me when you address public, always start off speaking Mi'kmaq. And he gave me two reasons for that. The first reason is to show that after 400 years of contact, that our language is strong and our culture is still strong within the Mi'kmaq youth. And secondly, because I'm so pale, no one would believe I was Mi'kmaq. Okay. All right, okay, I told Morley I wouldn't tell many jokes. We're here to be angry. We're getting frustrated. Okay, that's my quota. No more jokes, back to being angry. Okay. So one of the other things he taught me, like I lived next door to his Jigipton, until his father, he taught me about Nedigalimp. And as Nedigalimp, that means that we as Mi'kmaq are blessed with rights, but we are also bound by responsibilities. And our responsibilities are to our family, our communities, our nation, and our ecosystem. And that's why we're here today, to honor those responsibilities for our families, for our children, for the young people standing in front of me, to say that we're going to make sure that their generation has it better than ours, and all of the things that our ancestors promised us in our treaties. We're here for our communities, so that we don't lead in every negative statistical category that makes life sometimes unbearable in our First Nation communities. We're here for our nation, united, saying that we're going to put aside all of our differences and stand together in solidarity. And most important, well, some would say most importantly, we're here for our ecosystem, to ensure that our environment and our rights will be there for the 7 generations from now. One of the things that people have said is that we are Canada's last hope in terms of stopping this government. And the reason we say that we are the last hope is because as Mi'kmaq, we have Aboriginal and treaty rights, signed with the Crown, reaffirmed and recognized in the Constitution of Canada in Section 35. But there's also a clause in that Constitution that they signed called the Supremacy Clause, saying that the Constitution is the supreme law of Canada. Anything that is inconsistent is of no force and effect. That means that our treaty rights, our Aboriginal rights, trump and supersede and are more powerful than any legislation the Harper government will throw at us. We've stood before them many times. I see signs out there that show some of our role models as well. Donald Marshall Jr., Nora Bernard, Grand Captain Alec Denny. They both in Canada and internationally stood up to Canada and said our rights were valid. And many times we have gone to court and we've won. We've won in the Simon case, our right to hunt. We've won in Marshall, our right to commercial fisheries. We've won in Sapir Gray. We've won many times in court, yet why is it that our communities continue to lead every negative statistic out there? We are here today to have our rights implemented, but if we can't get, we're talking about our Aboriginal and treaty rights, but we can't even get this government to acknowledge our basic human rights and dignity. The right to water, the right to education, the right to not be impoverished. But I know that we're here today to talk about Bill C-45. And while we're standing up against Bill C-45, against the amendments to the lack of protection for our environments, the lack of recognition of our livelihood right to fish, but we're also here to talk about what isn't in Bill C-45. And there isn't a thing about the illegal confiscation of our lands and resources in that bill. There isn't a thing for reconciliation for the history of colonization and assimilation they've put on us. There isn't a peep about equal education funding, safe drinking water, or an inquiry into missing and murdered women in our communities. And I've seen our leaders' frustration as they've talked to government, and we've reminded them over and over, both in the Nova Scotia area and nationally, that their unilateral approach will not stand. And every time that they try to pass a legislation that affects our rights, we'll be here and we're getting stronger. There's a new hope, though. I see it, and I'm glad when I was asked by the youth to speak here today. And it's because our youth have to take the lead on this. That our youth, we need their energy. We need their frustration. We need their motivation to get this thing started, because we're involved in a new Mi'kmaq renaissance. A renaissance based on education, based on unity. And I ask our youth to continue with that education and unity. I've often reminded about the 7th generation prophecy during my times with AFN, and they said that 7 generations after the Europeans arrive, our youth will lead and take us to where a place of prosperity. And we're now in that 7th generation. I just want to close today, and I didn't know if the Grand Captain was going to be here, but I'm going to quote him from last year, 25th anniversary of our Treaty Day, when he said, "For 25 years we have stood up and let government know that we will not go away, that we will not go quietly into the night, that we will persevere, that we are prepared to fight. And if it takes another 25 years, you can be sure that as Mi'kmaq, proud, determined, resilient, we are here for the long haul. And believe me, we are just getting warmed up." Walalia, thank you.
Thank you so much.